Welcome to Bulletproof Veteran Podcast. Thank you for your service.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Bulletproof Veteran Podcast. We are going to have a blast today. So, we got Halloween coming up, right? Which means November is right around the corner. What's in November? Veterans Day. Well, screw Veterans Day. Let's have Veterans Month. Let's have a lot of fun today. We're going to be talking all about MMA Jiu Jitsu. I have two gentlemen on the show today. They are representing VETS MMA and Project 9 Line, and they got an awesome opportunity if you live on Long Island for you to take advantage this November. And I want to get that information out. So we have on the show Patrick Donahue, Ronnie Oldenburg. Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Well, like we usually do on the show, we like to hear a little bit about you guys. Then we'll get into the MMA. We'll get into all the fun. We'll get into November as a month, just to help out veterans. But first, hey, Ronnie, why don't you start us off? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Ronnie Oldenburg. I went to the Army in 2000. I spent 2000 2006 in. I was 3rd Infantry Division. I was one of the first guys into Baghdad, into Iraq. After that, I became a recruiter for the Army National Guard. And that's pretty much about it as far as my Army experience goes.
Very cool. And nobody tried to take you out. That's good. You went recruiter and you're still with us. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was a rough patch. I was recruiting in 03, 04, so it wasn't the best time to try to get guys in.
Yeah, a little tough. The news was not your friend.
No.
Similar time that I was in. I was in 2000 to 2005. So hard keeping people in, hard getting recruits in the door. Definitely not easy.
Yeah.
Patrick, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Thanks for having us. My name is Patrick Donahue. I'm an Army vet. I was in from 2008 to 2012, active duty. And then I went in the reserves from 2014 to 2016. I was in Kandahar province, Afghanistan, 2010, 2011. I had a pretty unique position in the military, although my MOS, I'm a water treatment specialist, a water dog, a 92 whiskey. I actually got hooked up in the Brigade HHC unit, and I was part of S3 operations for the 2nd Brigade Combat Team, 101st Airborne Division, which then led me to my very unique position in combat. I was my brigade commander's assistant. So I was his driver, I made his coffee, and I helped manage operations for the whole brigade size unit. So I had a lot of different tasks that fell on my desk, and it was a very unique perspective to be in Afghanistan for. And then I had a lot of trouble when I got home, to be honest with you. I had a very tough time reintegrating back to my family and to society, mostly to the Army. And I caused problems in all of those areas, and I really didn't know why. And I guess I look back, and I was probably one of the last to know how much I was suffering from the effects of trauma, and I didn't know what to do. And I really didn't do very well for almost about 2 years or so, maybe even a little longer. And then I finally asked for help. And while I was in the VA in a program, I started to do some things that really helped me, such as yoga, meditation, writing, poetry, stuff like that. And I was about to get out of the program, and I was looking to see if these type of programs or services existed for veterans outside of the hospital setting that I was in, and they didn't. So I wrote a business plan on how to bring that to life once I got out, and how bring what I was benefiting from to other veterans. And so I did that. I wrote a business plan, and I pretty much got some help to assist me in building what became Project 9 Line. And now, since we've been operational, which is almost 8 years now, we've helped so many vets, including myself, have been helped from Project 9 Line, from the programs, and I think mostly from helping others too, right? That's how that I knew was going to be a key component to my wellness when I got out, not only continuing to do these wellness activities, but also helping others, right? That's a big component for wellness, I believe. And then that's how I met Ronnie, not very soon after I had gotten out of the hospital. And we launched Project 9 together, actually, Ronnie and I. So it's been a really cool ride.
And I appreciate your honesty and talking. You know, I love having people on the show that are willing to talk a little bit about the bad things that have happened in their experience. You know, it's not all freaking sunshines and you come out and I came up with this idea to yoga for veterans and I was perfectly fine. I didn't need any help. That's not reality. The reality is usually these ideas are born out of your own personal struggles. And the more we talk about them, the more people feel at home to take advantage of everything. So I appreciate your honesty. You know, I've seen Project 9 now. I have friends that go to your yoga classes. I'm looking forward to taking advantage of some of your services here on Long Island. Tell us a little bit about what Project 9 is trying to do. You said that, you know, therapy, art therapy, writing, all these different things. But what exactly does Project 9 do for our local veterans here?
So we're trying to fill that void that I think exists, right? Like we need purpose. You know, we miss that when we get out of the military. There's a lot of things that we miss, right? I don't know if we necessarily realize we missed them immediately. I know I didn't. But purpose, right? The mission.
Mm-hmm.
When you take that away from us, it's very hard to find that again. And when you're trying to figure out how to be a civilian, how to be a father, how to be a husband, again, you're trying to relearn all these things. And without a purpose, you know, it's very difficult to do much of anything, right? Without having something to live for and strive for and work towards and build. So for me, that became building Project 9. And the services we offer then give those opportunities to other vets, right? Like our mission is 9 words, very simple. It's empowering veterans with reintegration through the arts and activities. And we're providing these avenues and venues for veterans to communicate their stories in some instances, to build the camaraderie with other vets, and most importantly, to find a purpose, to find something to get up every day and to work towards and live for. And that way you can start to rebuild those other areas of your life that might be, that you might be struggling with a little bit. And there's a lot that exists out there, especially here in Long Island, Suffolk County. We have a lot of love for our veterans, and there's a lot of services and organizations that exist to help. And we're just one component of that that didn't exist. And that's why our programs, I believe, are so important, because they're different, and there's more than, there's more ways to skin a cat, I think is that old saying, right? So So we're just trying to fill the void for veterans who may not, or may not be willing to accept, professional help, or may not want to, or may not be ready to, or for whatever reason, but they can still get involved in these other activities and learn a new skill, or become, better at any of these arts or wellness programs, and then from there build a new life. That's kind of what happened with me. So I know it works. And so it's and Sarge too, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what happened with me. Like I always saw a lot of the guys that are getting disability, PTSD, and getting a lot of other disabilities, and a lot of them earned it, but a lot of them are out there that were faking it and didn't want to work and just wanted to play the system. And so originally myself, I didn't want to get involved with the VA end of it and go that route, because it kind of annoyed me. It annoyed me that they weren't real. They were lying about it, and it's dishonorable to the flag. It's dishonorable to anyone who was served to do things like that. I mean, I don't want to touch too much on that subject, but
no, but I completely agree with you. I completely agree, because I didn't want to go to the VA either. Like I literally was like, there's nothing wrong. I'm working.
Yeah.
So why would I go get, 10% for tinnitus or something like that? Like I wouldn't just go to the VA. I'm perfectly fine.
Right. Yeah. I see, I wasn't perfectly fine, but I still had that mentality of this isn't going to get me, you know what I mean? But eventually the things catch up to you.
Yeah.
And that's what Project 9, when Pat and I first met, I was doing a little singing with a buddy. We had a little band going, and I just randomly found it. I think it was on Craigslist, that Project 9 Line was hosting his first event, and any veteran military singers out there, come on down, give us a call. And called him, hooked up, did a couple songs, and that kind of sent me on a career of music for a little while. Not a paid career, but
never a
at
paid
least a
career.
fun one. So yeah, they were doing we had a Project 9 Line band for a while. Hopefully we'll pick that back up soon. There's still guitar classes, drum classes. Pat, you want to pick up on the rest of that?
Sure thing. So how I met Ronnie, it's a pretty cool story, actually.
Yeah, please.
So yeah, our first event we're planning, I just got out of the hospital like late December. We plan our first event for late January, like the 25th of 2014. It's called Kickoff. And I had a few veteran musicians that I had known or came in contact with, and they were willing to perform, but we needed more performers. So I literally put a Craigslist ad out looking for veteran musicians. Meanwhile, I don't realize that every musician is a veteran musician, right? So I didn't put military veteran. So I'm getting all these responses, right? And then and then I get a response from 05, which was Sarge Band at the time. And I'm like, yeah, come on down. You guys can play. So the first time I met Sarge was at the event itself. And then Sarge sent me this message later that night, just saying how much it helped him to get out there and perform, and how much it was cool to be around all these other vets at this event and get to share his art form. You know, he shared some original songs that night about his time in Baghdad, you know, and he had Saddam's license plate on the stage, you know, one of Saddam's license plates. So it was really cool. And it meant the world to me, because we had already succeeded in our mission, right? So Sarge is veteran X. He's veteran number 1 that we've helped, you know, and now we've stayed close this whole time as well. And we've done other things together, many things, right? But it was just from this initial concert called Kickoff that we held in Bayshore, New York. And, you know, we helped our first vet. And I didn't know it at the time. Again, looking back, I could see now that it was me and him our veteran X, right? I was being helped through helping, and he was being helped by showing his art, which is what our mission was. So right away, we were a super success. Like if we never did anything again, we had already been a success at our mission, right? But then from that, we kept moving along and building and growing and putting together programs and events where, you know, veterans are performing. And it's been a beautiful ride. Yeah.
I mean, I tell you what, people love the yoga classes. I know a bunch of people that have been to them who've enjoyed it. The Heart of an Eagle, 5K. I mean, there was a lot of people out there this year. It was a beautiful run, a little windy near the water there. It was a little windy. When you only weigh 12 pounds like me, your ass gets blown off to the side. So it's a little tough. I subtracted like a minute off my time just because of that, but that's just me. But there was a lot of people out there, and a lot of people having a great time. You know, there was different booths, and you could get information. The guy from SARFLAG was, they had a table. Operation Vest was there. They had a table. You know, it was really cool just to see all these different people coming together. And I think that's a testament to what you guys are trying to do. It's all about bringing that community together.
Yes.
Yeah. So we get into November now. Trying to build that community, try to keep this thing going. What do we got going for November? So, Ronnie, tell us a little bit of why we should be getting involved for the month of November, this veteran month.
Well, yeah, that was the whole thing. Pat and I were talking months ago. I forget exactly where it was, but we started talking. We're like, what if we got an MMA gym together, at least one or two, and had something to where, you know, at one day a week or something for the month. Cause you know, everybody's getting their months now. Well, veterans might as well have their month. I think we've earned it. So that's pretty much, it just kept spinning and we kept spitballing this idea. And since he goes to he's got a lot of friends in the MMA community. I got some friends in the Jiu Jitsu community, and we made it happen. we made this happen. And I think, what do we have? 5, 6 schools on board right now, Pat?
Yeah, we have 10 total. Half
10.
Half Jiu Jitsu, half yoga.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. You guys are all over the place. You got places in Farmingdale, Patchogue, Smithtown, Glen Cove, Hauppauge, Islip. So there is no reason why a veteran here in Suffolk County, borderline of Nassau, whatever the case may be, here on Long Island, you can drive to one of these locations and get involved if it's something that you wanted to do, and it's free. Let's be honest. Right. Best price in the world.
And that's what the whole thing was that we knew that it's hard enough to get somebody to come out of their shell to do something, especially a veteran, a war veteran, any veteran. It's very hard sometimes to want to do something, or like you said before, find so many excuses. But once you walk through that door as a veteran, I could almost guarantee it will change your life. Because the camaraderie that is in those buildings and those doors, it is a combat sport. And I mean, it kind of just, you fall into place and you feel like you're home again.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about MMA. Like I said, I've never done it. Okay. This is going to be my first time. I'm going to be walking through the door. Tell me a little bit about what I can expect from the sport itself. And like you said, the camaraderie, all that kind of stuff, that's all great. But, you know, hey, listen, I'm walking through the door. If people throw me to the mat, am I getting my ass kicked the first day? Like, what's going on?
Pat, what do you got?
So why jujitsu? Jujitsu is known as the gentle art, right? It's the most effective martial art ever known to man, and that's debatable, but that's what I believe to be true. And that's been proven. If you've ever watched a UFC, or especially the early ones, when no one else knew jujitsu, if you watch the jujitsu guys, they kill everybody, you know, over and over and over again. Yeah. Now, what makes it great is it brings you to so the best thing about jujitsu, I think, and what makes it the most beneficial to anybody, especially veterans who have served, have been through trauma, but really anybody in general, is that it brings you to the moment. Right? There's no way that you can't not be in the moment while practicing jujitsu, because you're not thinking about the past, you're not worried about the future, and meanwhile, none of those things exist, right? There is only the present moment. There is nothing else. Life is a continuous phase of perpetual nows, right? It's always now, but we always worry about the past and worry about the future. We're never in the moment. So for what I found is that for me to benefit the most from any activity, if it brings me into the moment, that's when I'm going to get the benefit. So if you've never trained jujitsu before, you know, you might get tapped out on your first day. Expect that, but it's a very gentle art, and there's going to be the other students are going to be very much willing and able and happy to assist you on your journey, especially since you're at the early stages of it. So wear shorts and a t-shirt to start, go in the gym, have no expectations, leave your pride and your ego at the door, right? Because your pride and your ego can get in the way. This is a big ego and pride deflator, which actually has a very good benefit for life as well. And you might get choked out, you might get your arm barred, you might armbar somebody, you might choke someone out, and that'll happen more and more, both of those, as you go through this. But no one's gonna try to hurt you. No one's gonna break your arms, right? As long as you tap, no one's gonna hurt you, right? And it's okay to tap. The only way to get good at jujitsu is to give up literally a million times, right?
Okay.
It's the only way. That's the path that everyone who's good at it took. Now, MMA. So VETS MMA is a unique program, right? So Project 9 Line, we offer a couple programs right now, but over the course of the last 8 years, we brought to life 24 original programs, literally art and wellness based, that were from scratch. And they were always someone else that had a skill or practiced some art or practiced some wellness activity that brought that to Project 9 Line. Now, VETS MMA is different because VETS MMA is the name of a paper that I wrote in grad school in 2015. Now, it was a marketing class, my first semester of grad school, going for my MBA, and the teacher says you're gonna form groups, you're gonna create a product or service, fictitious, of course, and then we're gonna have a Shark Tank type competition at the end where each group will show their product or service and then vote on who wins, right? So I told my group, I said, we can either A, create a fictitious product that means nothing, or B, we can create a veterans program that I could actually bring to life in a short amount of time after this class is over. So of course my class elected to do that. So we're like, well, what are we gonna build? So we're like, let's try MMA. So we wrote this like 26-page paper about all the benefits of MMA, specifically jiu-jitsu, but MMA, martial arts, not MMA, right? how martial arts are beneficial to veterans and how they could help you overcome trauma. So that was, we turned the paper in like December. We got 100. We won the competition, and we brought the program to life like by the end of January 2016. So at the time, our old attorney, he was the commissioner of Suffolk County Police at the time. He's now the DA, but he was Project 99's attorney before that. So I called him up and I said, hey, we need a location for this. He gave us the Suffolk County Police Academy Defensive Tactics Training Room at Suffolk County Community College in Brentwood. So that's where we started our program. And I had a jiu-jitsu black belt, another veteran, Chris Delaney, who helped me found this program. And I had a karate black belt, Ken Nilsson, teach for an hour each. And we split up the class, and that's how VETS MMA was born. And so that was my first jiu-jitsu class. I had never trained before. So I participated because I like to lead from the front, but more importantly, I was excited to learn how to do some mixed martial arts. I didn't know that I'd fall in love with jiu-jitsu or that it would completely change my life, right? So yeah, going back to 8 years ago when I got out of the hospital, I knew all those things were benefiting me, but I was still not really well. And I'm okay now, but I still have my moments, right? But I had a couple more years to go through of ups and downs, like severely. And I was just kind of a shell of a person still. And not till I found jiu-jitsu did I really come to be a happy, productive, member of society in a way that I'm happy and comfortable with. It was through jiu-jitsu that happened. And I wrote the paper on it before I took the class. And so that's why VETS MMA is very special to me, because out of all those 24 programs that we brought to life, VETS MMA was the only one that I kind of founded. Even though I was just a student in the class, I've been running the program since it's the beginning. And it completely transformed my life. If
you don't mind me asking, you spoke about being in present, being in the moment, which I believe is huge, especially for veterans. There's a lot of activities that do that. What would you say is so unique about MMA though that was so beneficial to you? Was it that being in the moment, or was it something else?
So I believe it's being in the moment.
It is,
and
okay.
then shaving off the ego and the pride that gets in our way. I think that was a huge component. It's helped me be comfortable in my skin more, less fear. I'm not so defensive. I sleep better. I'm physically healthier. At 40 years old, I'm probably in the best shape of my life. Well, definitely in the best shape of my life. And so it fills all of these components. And so it's BJJ specifically for me. I don't train much MMA. Back when I wrote the paper, I didn't know that was the best art for what I was trying to accomplish. I only learned that through my path, right? So, and that's where I fell in. It might not be certain for everybody. Maybe kickboxing is more beneficial for some, or some other type, or yoga, or any of these things. So I think VETS MMA as a program and as a brand, so to speak, it's more about the internal battle, right? VETS MMA, most MMA, it's about the external fight people are training for. VETS, the internal struggle is way more treacherous for us and way more detrimental to our health. It's not external threats that are getting us. It maybe our fear of them is affecting us and detrimental to us, but not actually happening. It's what's going on inside of us. That's the main issue for me. Speaking, solely for myself, but I think as a general rule, the internal threats to veterans who have survived traumatic experiences, or anybody really who has been through trauma, the internal threat is the most detrimental and dangerous. So how do we overcome that? And I think that's why this new VETS MMA relaunch, being yoga and jiu-jitsu, these are great ways to help be in the moment, overcome all these other things slowly but surely, become comfortable in your own skin, and then figure out the rest of this stuff as you go. So VETS MMA is about the internal battle, not about the external battle. So it's kind of morphed over the years as I've trained more and as I've been in contact with other vets and through their experiences. And by relaunching, this is the 4th relaunch of this program, actually. It's the internal struggle that's the most important. And like you said, being in the moment is the best way So,
Ronnie, I see you shaking your head, agreeing, especially when he said ego and the internal struggle. Is that how you feel about the MMA as well?
Quick story about ego.
Okay.
So it was my third session. I started training with Pat specifically at the Project 9 Line building, and we only had a few guys. His daughter was there. His daughter, on her 18th birthday, this was my third shot at jiu-jitsu, tapped me within 15 seconds. And she's 18. It was her birthday, mind you, and she's maybe 100 pounds soaking wet. So that's where ego.
It's
that's
the wiry ones. You got to watch out for.
Dies. The ego dies immediately.
Yep.
And you just got to realize that, wow, there is a higher art form out there. Like, I grew up boxing. Mm-hmm. I still love boxing to this day. It's not sustainable for somebody our age to get constantly hit in the head anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing about jiu-jitsu is that there is no striking. So you could hypothetically see where you could strike at a point, while you're doing jiu-jitsu, but you're not getting hit like that. And the whole thing about the tap is that, especially in the beginning, tap soon, tap fast, tap often. This way you don't get into trouble. When you feel yourself in an awkward position that you haven't been in, just tap. Everybody's fine with it. Everybody releases. It's a very professional format. Anybody that's been there for a while it's just a great thing. So,
well, it's almost like a security blanket at that point, is that you can stop it at any time. You tap
right.
and you can step away, regroup, figure out what was going on, and then get back into it.
Yeah, and you'll see as the weeks and the months progress, you tap less and less, and then there's always somebody's going to always know more than you. Mm-hmm. So tapping is that's the nicest thing about it, is the tap. Like, you don't have that in any other martial art. You don't have it. You're getting, even if you have headgear on, you're still getting struck. So this, at least with this art form, it comes down to, oh, my arm's in a funny position. Maybe I should tap. And that's, or he's got a hold of something and I'm not sure what's going on. I'll just tap. And then you regroup.
Very cool. Very cool. I mean, and it's a good feeling for somebody who's new to know you have that kind of out. All right.
Yeah.
This way my comfort level's good.
Addy, it's starting a little bit.
Excuse me one second.
Go ahead, don't worry about it, man. Take care of it.
So I know you had asked, but jiu-jitsu, it's submission grappling primarily from the ground, right? It was reinvented by the Gracie family in Brazil. They transformed what was Japanese jiu-jitsu, which is a standing game that does have some strikes and such within it, into a ground game from your back if you had to.
Yeah.
It's meant for lighter people to be able to control a heavier opponent and survive, right? Not get and survive a fight rather than definitely, destroy someone, right? It's about, it was a self-defense art, and it still is, right? So how do you not take damage, and how do you withstand an opponent? And the best way, and all fights go to the ground, right? So that's primarily where it takes place. Yeah. So it's similar to wrestling in that respect, where it's grappling, but it takes place primarily from the ground. So there's less chance of injury for us. We're all a little bit older, very obviously. So there's a lot less chance of injury. And as you progress, you'll be able to stretch all of your joints and your muscles, and it's the greatest thing ever.
And I remember watching, the first UFCs, UFC 1, all that. You had the pay-per-view, and you prayed somebody got it, or if somebody had that, remember that brown box that would break. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
We used to use it for other things besides MMA, but we won't talk about that. We'll keep it PG.
It's when we only had, I think, like 84 channels.
Yeah, exactly. And but we would watch, and I remember watching the first time I saw it. You had guys like Shamrock, you had guys like Gracie, and I'd be like, why is this guy on his back the whole time? He's literally falling on his back on purpose. Yep. And I had no understanding, because the only things I had ever seen were karate movies and, watching Tyson box, on HBO and stuff like that. That was the only thing that we saw back then. So it was this foreign idea that you would get on your back on purpose in this kind of defensive posture. So it can be very foreign for somebody who thinks that fighting or any type of martial arts should be more of a standing or striking or something like that.
Yeah. So all fights end, well, not all, but most fights end up on the ground anyway.
Right.
And as a BJJ practitioner, as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, the reason you want to get on the ground as fast as possible is because chances are you're more skilled than your opponent there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And number two, it takes away that knockout blow. It's very hard, when you're standing and someone can cock back and hit you full force. Now we're talking about a fight-ending punch. Mm-hmm. Now, if you take away their ability to hit you with those power shots, and then you prolong the fight on the ground, chances are you're not going to lose, right? If you train on the ground, you take away the ability for them to knock you out. How is this fight going to end? They're going to get tired pretty quick, and you're going to be able to submit them. If you can't submit them right away, that's a bigger, stronger, faster opponent. So that's kind of what happened. What happened to Ronnie? My daughter. So meanwhile, she'd only been training a few months, but with very little time, you'll know enough to be able to subdue a non-trained opponent very quickly. So what makes jiu-jitsu different is, right, you can practice it at almost 100% every time. Right, you go learn moves and then you can drill them. It's called rolling, right? So after class, you get to roll. So you go live with another student or practitioner, and you literally fight at almost 100% or 100%, depending on who you're rolling with. Mm-hmm. And no one gets hurt. Typically, no one gets hurt. But then how your moves are going to fare against an opponent doing the same moves back to you. Whereas other martial arts, it's difficult to do that because you can't be punching and kicking people 100%. You can't. It's not possible. So any martial arts that have striking, including boxing and kickboxing, you can spar, right? But you can't spar 100%. You get knocked out every week. You can't come home on a Tuesday from work and go box at 100% with someone and go to work on Wednesday. Maybe you can. I'm sure people do. But
people do, but you're not going to do it for a long time.
No.
Not going to do well at work either.
Yeah.
Well, as somebody who has a daughter, like before we went live, Ronnie and I were talking. I have a daughter, and I do want her to get into jiu-jitsu. I actually went to a local facility over here, and they were talking. Probably around like 4 or 5, she can start. That's what they recommend. But do you recommend it as for self-defense as well? I've heard in the past that if you talk about the best martial arts for self-defense, jiu-jitsu always kind of comes up if you read magazine articles, stuff like that. What are your feelings for our female veterans that are out there, or anybody that has a daughter or anything like that? Would you recommend this as also self-defense as well?
Yes.
So okay.
Females especially. So what better place to know how to fight than from your back, right? Let's if you're going to get attacked and you're a female, chances are it's going to be someone stronger than you, physically bigger, and they're going to probably try to get you to your back in some manner, right? Yes. Unfortunately, that's so what better way to know how to fight than from your back? And jiu-jitsu is unique in that the girls, the females, but are typically better at it earlier, and they can compete with the boys, right? So there's the tournaments for kids. It's girls against boys. The girls are ripping these kids' arms off, right? Yeah. Literally, right? And even at higher levels and all the way up the chain, the girls are able to compete with the boys and train with the boys and beat them over and over in a lot of cases, right? Especially if they're a higher rank, they've been training longer, they're gonna abuse you. There's not many sports where that's the case because females are physically smaller, physically not as strong. So, and those things are very important when it comes to sports and martial arts. Now in jiu-jitsu, it's not the case. Yeah, strength and size, of course, these things are benefits, but they're not necessary components at all. That's why jiu-jitsu was designed the way it was, for a smaller opponent to use leverage and your opponent's weight against them to be able to survive and submit them. So for females, if you have daughters, you got to get them into it, because I venture to say that a girl trained in jiu-jitsu for just even a few months or could take on any high school wrestling boy and give him a match,
Right.
potentially submit him, right? Because the boy's only going to go a boy wrestler. Yeah, they're strong and they're wrestling. I'm not down to wrestling. Wrestling's awesome.
No, it's serious. My brother wrestled for years. We were, a wrestling family. My uncle went to college. He went to William and Mary wrestling. He was a wrestling coach. We were a big wrestling family.
Yeah.
Not downing them at all.
No, I have the utmost respect for wrestling. It was too hard for me as a high school kid. That's why I didn't do it. Honestly,
Yeah.
I wish I did. I even wished it back then, but I knew I didn't have the mentality to be able to withstand what they did. They're beasts. So jiu-jitsu is almost like a lazy man's wrestling.
Okay.
But then if you put a high-level jiu-jitsu practitioner against a high-level wrestler, the jiu-jitsu practitioner is going to submit them. Almost every time. Almost every time. But the wrestling practitioners, they're so strong and the art is beautiful. But for females, there is no way for females to wrestle really. Like even my daughters wrestled when they were younger, but there's no girls to compete against. They got to go with the boys. It's tough on them. It's heavy on their mental state to show up in 7th grade. That's what my daughter did. She wrestled kids wrestling for a few years, shows up at 7th grade, and all the boys are just looking at her funny. She's the only girl there.
Right.
Jiu-jitsu is different. There's more and more girls and females in jiu-jitsu, but they're even, right? So this is a sport and an art where the girls and boys are even, and the girls might even. I feel like the girls might even have a leg up because they're more flexible. They're smart. They learn fast, and then if they're smaller and they continuously practice against bigger opponents, such as the boys and men in their class, they're going to be so much better at once they get against someone their own weight class. It's like night and day,
Yeah.
So for females, this is a great art and self-defense strategy for sure.
And that's why I'm glad we're talking about it. I want to get that info out to them because, you even got me. Listen, my skinny ass Air Force veteran, listen, I went into basic training at 119 pounds. Okay. I don't think they would have taken me if I was any lighter, not at my height. But, so for me, as I'm listening to you, listen, nothing wrong with learning some self-defense, even later in life. There's nothing wrong with that. But just to be able to compete, I am a fairly competitive person. When I do something, I want to do it well.
Yeah,
and not even competing against another human. I'm competing against myself, like you said, that internal struggle.
Oh yeah.
Even trying to drop the ego, all that. It's more, if I'm going to do something, I want to do it right.
Yeah.
And knowing and listening to what you're saying about being a lighter guy, I'll be honest with you. The first thing I thought of is, listen, I go up against a guy the size of Ronnie. What's the point? You know what I mean? But the way you're talking, maybe there is a point. And
let me put it in a
you feel
size
better.
comparison. I think his daughter Star is maybe 100 pounds. I don't know, 5'4", 5'3".
Yeah.
I'm 6 foot 200, and she took my back within 15 seconds. Took my back and choked me out. If I didn't tap, I would have woke up in 30 seconds.
Yeah. Now, what the question is, was Patrick in the background just clapping like this?
No, it's just another day in the office.
That's it. That's all it is.
I think I might have been getting choked around the same time. Like, we were rolling simultaneously.
It's a family affair. It's all about it.
Well,
That's that community, right?
Yeah. Well, that was like the third relaunch. So we started out at Suffolk County Police Academy. Then we moved out of there. We ended up at UFC Gym in Farmingdale for a while.
Yep.
And then we kind of let the program kind of die out for a while because we were getting so many participants. I had already joined the gym, and I was on days when VETS MMA would have class, I would go to my gym because it was more convenient and I was more comfortable. So that was part of the reason which led us to this new version. But then during coronavirus, all the gyms were closed.
Yep.
So we got some wrestling mats. We put them at Project Nylon headquarters. I told a few vets that I knew, including Ronnie. I got my kids into it, which was awesome. I've been trying to talk them into it forever. And then I got like the neighborhood kids were coming. So we'd have like a class, here a couple times a week. And that's how I got Ronnie into it. And then when the gyms opened back up, I just kind of discontinued it again. But then through all those experiences and through our own journeys, Ronnie's and I, we realized that we could relaunch this and we can make it possible for vets to try by overcoming the known excuses, right? Like time, timing, distance, and injury, right? Those are the known excuses we can overcome. Like vets don't have the time, right? So especially if so VETS MMA was a static class. It was at one location, either 1 or 2 days a week, and it moved around over time, but you had to go to that location and you had to go during those times or else you couldn't go, right? So how do we overcome that? Let's get multiple schools all over Long Island to offer classes at all different times, right? So that way we overcome the time issue, right? So if you can't make it at after work, there's 4:30 a.m. classes. There's 4:30 a.m. classes all the way to 8 p.m. classes almost every day of the week for both disciplines, right? Yoga or jiu-jitsu, right? So then the timing of it, right? We always want to put things off, right? We always want to procrastinate. It's so easy. I'll do it tomorrow. Well, for this offering, you have to go during the month of November 2021. So we're overcoming that known excuse. Then distance, right? It's too far. I can't go. Well, guess what? We got classes from Patchogue to Great Neck. So you live within a vicinity where it's not that far, right? So we overcome that. And then there's injury, right? Because ultimately, I want vets to try jiu-jitsu during this, but yoga is a great building block towards jiu-jitsu. If you're too injured, you think now to try jiu-jitsu, well, why not try yoga, right? Go in, give it a shot. You practice yoga, it's going to make you healthy, right? It's going to make you healthier mentally, spiritually, and physically. And then sure enough, you do that long enough, you'll probably be in a place where then you could try jiu-jitsu. Hopefully, not everybody, but a lot of people that fall into that category, right? So by doing it this way, VETS MMA 4.0, we've overcome almost all known excuses.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, cost too. The fact that you could do it free for that month, that gets you in the door. And like you were saying to me, I think even before we started recording, I think Ronnie, you were saying it to me, you're going to fall in love with it. So that get that foot in the door. If I do 4 sessions once a week or whatever the case may be, I already told my wife, you know me, I'm going to end up signing up somewhere.
Plan on 1 session a week to start.
Yeah.
But let me go back real quick and touch on injury. Now,
Please.
I've had a bad lower back, bad knees for years. The Army does it to you, carrying the weight and, whatever else comes up in life, you get injured. I've actually had less back problems since I've started jiu-jitsu, primarily because you're using all these secondary muscles and things, and you're doing all these movements that you normally never do in everyday life. And now you're doing these things. So you're actually strengthening your body in a sense. And again, this is as long as if you're in a position, you're sparring with a blue belt or something, or even a white belt for that matter, and they get you in something, just tap. Don't, that's where the ego comes in, where it's like, you have to let it go and just tap one, tap a couple times or say tap, anything, and you could pretty much remain injury free. There's going to be injury in life no matter what.
Listen, anything you do.
As far as people being concerned with injury from jiu-jitsu, if anything, it has helped me not get injured. Mm-hmm. I used to throw my back out at work from, picking up a nail on the floor. Like, oh, this shouldn't be here. Oh, did this. Now I'm out for a couple of days. That hasn't happened, knock on wood.
Yeah.
So, it really is, as far as physical strength, I used to be big. I used to be in the bodybuilding. I used to lift heavy weights. I don't do any of that anymore. And I tell you, I feel better. My joints feel better. My body feels better. Just 100% mentally. I mean, this is the way to go.
Well, I would imagine it's got to work out the core just a ton. And when you talk about injury, especially back, making sure that core is taken care of is so important. Like you said, most of us, if you've been in the military, knees, back, shoulders, you're going to have something. If you don't have one of those 3, stolen valor. Okay, because you probably you're lying. You're lying. Okay?
That's it right there.
But we know we have these issues. So why not pick a practice or a sport or a hobby that's going to help you deal with those issues as well? It's a happy accident. Great. You're feeling better.
Yeah.
And no one's too old for this. Jiu-jitsu, you could start in your 70s for sure. And they'll make it work for you. If you walk into an academy, the teacher and the other students are going to love to have you, and they're going to help you along. And your core is going to get strong. Once your core is strong, that's your foundation, right? All the other stuff, it rests on your core. So jiu-jitsu and yoga, both of them will make your core strong, but jiu-jitsu especially. Yeah. And then I think what it does too, it stretches your psoas muscle. Are you guys familiar with your psoas muscle and how it stores trauma, right?
Right.
This huge muscle in our body stores our trauma. So how do you release it? You got to stretch that muscle, right? So the only way to stretch that muscle is by actively doing something that stretches that muscle. And I don't know, I haven't seen any studies on this, but I know it's true for me, right? So the continuous work on my psoas muscle has led me to not be so affected by my trauma. That might be that underlying key ingredient that is what is the most beneficial. Like, because I don't know what it is. I love everything about it,
Right.
and every part of my life has gotten better. So I can't really pinpoint what it is. But when I started learning more about the psoas muscle and how it stores all that trauma in it, and how participating in jiu-jitsu, stretches that in ways that you could never even imagine you could have stretched it in. I have to believe that that's releasing that trauma, which is then making every day a little easier, and it compounds, right? It's over time, it adds up more and more, it's compounding over time. So yeah, you get a little help early on, but then as you keep doing it, it keeps growing. So I think the psoas muscle getting stretched has a large part to do with why it's so beneficial for people, or veterans specifically, who have dealt with trauma.
So for a veteran that goes, we start off in the month of November, we fall in love with it, okay? Because most of us, we're probably going to. And we're going to want to keep doing it. So then moving forward, what does a normal gym membership look like? How many times a week do you normally go? Just, say like average, if it's just something you want to do to be part of the community, get some exercise, learn a little self-defense, that type of stuff. You're not going out into competitions or anything like that. You're just going, you want to be a part of it. What does that kind of look like?
So you train 2 or 3 times a week, you're going to be on the right path, right?
Okay.
That's a great amount. Any more, you might be tolling on your body. You may want to train more though, because you love it so much, but you got to kind of find that balance. So some weeks I've trained most days of the week. Some weeks I'll just train. Sometimes some weeks I'll take off, but if you train, I shoot for 3 times a week, right?
Okay.
If I do 3 times, if I do, 12 classes a month, I'm in a really good place. And I track it. So I'm always around there. Sometimes I'll do a bit more. Sometimes I'll do a little less. But 2 or 3 times a week. So two times, possibly 3 is the perfect amount.
Okay. All right. And what does that look like, just spitballing, like cost wise? How is that for, if somebody's on a little bit of a budget, you're worried, you're like, hey, I'm not going to take advantage of these free classes because I can't do it in the end anyway, because I can't afford it.
Yeah. So they range in price. Gym memberships range depending on if you want like a few days a week or unlimited schedule, anywhere from like around $150 to like $200. Now, every gym offers a discount for military too.
Yes.
That we're participating with. And if anyone has any circumstances, they should bring it up to that school and say, hey, this is what I can afford. Can you do something for me? Can I, but I feel like if someone seriously can't afford it, we'll have to take that as it comes. But what I found in my own life and my own experience is like the things that I love, I always figure out how to make them work. Yeah. Right. And jiu-jitsu has fallen into that for me. Even when I had the ability to keep doing the free classes through VETS MMA, because I needed more, and it was a while into it, right? I needed more, so I just joined a gym, even though I had the free classes. And then, like I said, I choose to go to my gym rather than the free classes, even though, because it was just convenience, right? But I found a way to make it work because I knew how beneficial it was, and I knew how much I loved it, right?
Yeah. And some of the things that we waste our money on, it will go away.
You forget
doing
about
good
that.
things with your money.
Yeah.
You're taking care of yourself with the money instead of, heading to the bar on Friday night and blowing $150. Let's be honest.
That's right.
Very easy to blow $150 doing stupid stuff.
Yep.
Of course.
And we all do it.
We all do it.
You do find a way. Like I even told my wife, we just bought a new house. Like there's a lot of things coming down, and it's just like, I know at the end of the day that even if I have to get a second job to maintain my membership, it's going to be maintained. But I will say also that, like Pat was saying, a lot of gyms are very understanding. If you tell them that, like, if you've been there for a little while and you're going and you run into some hard times, I can almost guarantee that your professor in that academy would be like, hey man, just come on.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not, you know, stating that that's fact, but I can guarantee if you went there for a while and you know, you became family, and that's what happens when you go to a lot of these jiu-jitsu academies. I go to Soka. I feel like everyone there is family now. I mean, the majority of the people, it's just you walk in, it's just a great feeling. You walk out, it's a great feeling. You got that feeling for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
It stays with you, and then you can't wait to go back on that Friday night instead of going to the bar. Or, you know what I mean? I'm not saying you can't go to the bar later, but
maybe go as a group afterwards if you want to go sit down.
That feeling carries around from one day of jiu-jitsu. Say you go to jiu-jitsu Monday, Tuesday. That carries with you for 3 days. You're feeling great. I mean, at least for me.
That's awesome.
So,
I mean, like I said, I'm super excited to try it out. I really am. I'm really looking forward to it. It's been something that was on my bucket list. It's something that I really wanted to do. And like Pat said, always had an excuse, whether, you know, whatever it was, but I probably would fall into that time category more than anything. But I'm going to take this month and I'm going to overcome that stupidity of always making an excuse and actually go out and enjoy it. So I am definitely looking forward to it. For anybody who wants to join me, how do they get more information? How do we find out where to go, gyms that are offering this, all that stuff?
Awesome. Yeah. So if you go to project9line.org and there's on the top, it's a free class schedule. If you click on that, it shows all the offerings for the month of November for jiu-jitsu and yoga. And we have schools all over Long Island. To name them specifically, the schools that are offering classes. For Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, we have Long Island MMA in Farmingdale. We have Peak Jiu-Jitsu in Patchogue. We have Monster BJJ and MMA. I believe that's in Comac. 10th Planet, which is in Hauppauge, and Soka, which is in Great Neck. Right. So those are the schools. If
Glen Cove. Soka and Glen Cove.
Glen Cove. What do I keep calling it?
Great Neck. It's all right. It's got the G.
I'm sorry.
Well, you know, Nassau County's different than Suffolk. We know you Suffolk guys.
You get confused. I passed 110.
Like it's Connecticut or the city.
If I get past 110, it's over.
Yeah, if you're past Melville, it's like, no, wait a minute, hold on. You don't go over here.
And the yoga schools, we got Om Shanti, Om, Simplicity Yoga, the Welcome Mat, and the Yoga Darshana Center, as well as Project 9 Line offers a class every Monday at 7 p.m. That's going on already, continuous, going on for the month of November, but then that'll keep going on after. So for anyone that starts a yoga practice and wants to come to our program, feel free to do that as well. And maybe that's something we'll do with MMA again too, or jiu-jitsu specifically, I should say. We may bring it back to Project 9 Line again. We'll see how this goes. I feel like if there's a lot of students that want to come, because then we'll have a bunch of vets. We could just meet up and just roll. We could just meet up and train. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how me and Ronnie got started, because that's really all we were doing. I'm not very high level at this. I'm just a blue belt. I've been training for a few years, but I'm not, you know, there's white, blue, purple, brown, and black. So I'm a very low level still. But being that no schools were open, another blue belt and I just got mats and started teaching like veterans and kids, you know? So that's how Ronnie got started. And that's how my daughter got started. So, and then Ronnie joined the gym out in Glen Cove at Soka's in Glen Cove. So that's how I knew that when Ronnie and I figured out, that's how we knew that launching this way was the best way to overcome those known excuses, right? And hopefully get some more people into it. It sounds like we got one. You know, it sounds like we
definitely got
you.
one. You definitely got one. So you're rocking and rolling. Like I said, I already talked to the wife. We already worked it out schedule wise. I've already been looking at my work schedule. Okay, this is the days I could go. I went on the website for Peak. You know, we got it all figured out, and so no matter what, you got one.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I've already told a couple other veterans that have come, and like I said, who've been to the headquarters is in Islip, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So a couple guys that I know that have already gone to the yoga there, I've been telling them about the jiu-jitsu. They probably already knew, you know, from going there, but, you know, I'm like, hey, let's just go. Let's go have a good time. And then we'll see what, you know, if you stick with it, you stick with it. If not, hey, we had a couple nights that we got out and, you know, we didn't have kids throwing milk and stuff at us.
And you'll never have to look back and say, I wish I would have tried that.
Right.
You just know you did.
Yeah. Even if it's not for you in the end, I don't want to have the regret of I always wanted to try that and I never did. For sure. All right.
Well, it's a whole month. It's a whole month in many academies. So, let's no excuses.
No excuses. Right? Let's get out there and do it. So get the Project 9 Lines website, click on the top for the free classes. You'll see the jiu-jitsu schedule. You see the yoga schedule if you're into that. You also on the website, you can see videos of the stuff you guys have done with music, some of the art stuff. All of that is on there. So please, if you get to that website, take a look at the videos, see the stuff that these guys have been doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And my advice, if you have any questions or concerns, you can reach out to Project 9 Line or the school itself, and either one is fine. Or you could just show up. Only one school, 10th Planet they wanted some form filled out on their website. I put that on our website, but all the other schools, you can just show up, tell them you're with Project 9 Line VETS MMA. They're going to set you up. If you're feeling nervous about it, find a battle buddy to go with you. Convince someone else to come. Maybe you know someone that already trains. Maybe you know someone that's been thinking about it, or just get someone to go with you. Bring a pal along and go learn together.
Yeah.
But don't not go. Just go. Just try.
Go. Like you said, no excuse.
Yeah, I guarantee your life will get better. I can't promise it's going to be good, but I guarantee it'll get better. Yeah. Right? No matter where you're at, in your path, each of these disciplines will provide you a great benefit in all different areas of your life. So if you can't do both, try one, but preferably try both and give it go in with no expectations. Just leave your pride and ego at the door for both disciplines. It'll help you a lot, and just give it a shot. And like I said, your life will improve.
Awesome. Well, I want to give you guys one last chance for anything that you might want to add. Ronnie, we'll go to you, and little man too. If he's got anything, please.
This is Stone. He loves it. He's 4 years old. He loves jiu-jitsu.
Awesome, bud.
So that's all I got to say. There should be no excuses if a 4-year-old loves jiu-jitsu.
Hell yeah. No, that's great. I'm glad he's into it and getting out there and doing it, man. So that's awesome. Ronnie, thank you. Pat, you got any last minute?
Hey, no, I just want to thank you for your time. I'm anxious to hear. Maybe we can get on again after this month. We could talk about your experience and how the program went and stuff like that. I'd love to hear from you how it went for you and your new journey. And I'm so happy that you're willing to start. And to all you vets out there, give it a shot. You're going to love it.
Definitely. Guys, again, thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. I do want to just say that just from a personal standpoint, the opportunity to get involved in it, I'm very happy. So, guys, thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of the day.